So I appreciate all of you guys coming out tonight. It's the second year and the second edition of this Pro Panel Night, which is a super important event for us here at Ultrafooty. It's super important for us, more importantly for the opportunities and the resources that we're able to provide the young kids. And not only that, but also the educational aspect that the parents get to take away from this event. I think it comes at a great time with us rebranding. I'm speaking on behalf of not only myself, but Jordan, who's not here tonight with some family-related situations. But nonetheless, the importance of this rebrand for us as a company is disassociating the faces from the company logo, and more so introducing the transition and the ascension of our company and how important it is for other people to have a voice, other people to have a platform, and showcasing as is now that we're creating job opportunities for other people. We're giving them the platforms to involve themselves into other people's lives. It's important that we can now step away and make this bigger than what it is, right? And give Ultrafooty its flowers as opposed to just the people that put it on the floor. So the importance of tonight is really to instill the humanitarian aspect of the professional players that you guys see. A lot of times as a kid, you aspire to get to a certain level, but the things that they don't tell you is the pathway, right? The long days, the long nights, the hours that you put into this journey just to get to where you want to be, right? Just to make a name for yourself so that you can navigate your way through this very tough job, right? It's not just making it to the professional level, but the hard part is the career aspect of it, right? Which in the past, a lot of us have failed with, but hopefully the next generation can then carry out this information and prolong it into a career. Because if you can make it a career, it's the most valuable career that you can have, is playing a youthful game at a high level and making a good amount of money for it, right? Which is a good goal for some of the kids that aspire to play the game. So we hope that all the information that you can take from here is valuable. And just for some housekeeping stuff, phones, try to keep them down, try to keep the side conversations down while the speakers are talking. There's a lot of media that goes into the production of tonight, so everything that you say may be picked up by a microphone, right? So don't insult anybody, don't laugh at anybody, don't have any side conversations, just keep it as is. Right? And last thing is, if you have any food or any ruffling of the water bottles, just try to keep it to a minimum. But other than that, I'm going to introduce the first speaker. First speaker is Riley Grant. Riley Grant is a former Seattle Sounders 2 player. Riley signed his first professional contract in 2017, attended the University of Penn State, and University of Akron as well. So Riley's going to come here, talk about his experience, and then take it from there. All right? So enjoy the night. You guys are good.
Alrighty, Riley Grant, one more time. All right, so you heard that introduction from Dylan.
Yes.
Penn State Nittany Lion, Akron Zip, 2017 you signed your major contract.
Yes.
52 matches, whole bunch of goals during them. I just want to kick it off by talking about managing the expectations all the way up to and through college and into the pro levels.
Yeah.
Maybe just talk about the best advice, like what worked for you on that pathway towards the pros.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of things, but really I think it's two things. I think it's one, like being honest with yourself, and then two, not being too hard on yourself. So I think there's like a balance, right? So you want to take everything that you've learned and everything that you've done and look back on it, reflect, and think, okay, how did this season go? How did this training go? How did this year go for me? And then once you're honest with yourself, you need to be able to not be too hard on yourself. Yes, there's some things that you could work on, and you know, you want to take that into the next season, the next opportunity. But you know, you got to take that and say, hey, that's the past, and this season, this new opportunity is the future, and you know, take what you've learned and go from there. So I think each level I played at was different. As you guys will get to those levels, you'll see there's more that goes into it, and it helps you grow. And I know there's a lot of great experiences that I had from it.
Absolutely. And so you signed in 2017. The Sounders at this point are fresh off of winning the MLS Cup in 2016. Can you just kind of walk us through the feeling? Was there any sort of like pressure that came on your shoulders maybe when you got there, like you have to redo this again, and the fan base is looking at you a certain way? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think the organization did a really good job of separating the first team from the second team, and the fact of that, yes, the first team is this successful team. They just came off a championship, but the second team really is to build that next generation and that next pipeline of youth. So they did a great job of kind of relieving that pressure. So anytime, you know, you train with the first team, you play with the first team, you know, the coaches are there to coach the first team, right? They want to see the best aspects of the second team, but they're just there to encourage you and you know, joke around with you and make you feel comfortable so that you can, you know, feel at your most confident to play with the first team. And the same with the first team guys. They you know, they did a great job of treating us. You know, we're nervous going into the first team, you know, trains and matches, but you know, just joking around with us and making us feel comfortable and making us feel like we belong there. But I think you put more pressure on yourself internally to really perform and get to the first team level. Whereas I don't think the organization did it as much, which was nice. So they really did a good job of, you know, showing you the pathway to the first team, but also letting you know that, hey, this team, the second team's your team. You know, we're trying to build the next generation, and you get to be interactive with the first team, and you get to train with them and go to all the games and see how that life is. But you know, don't worry about that right now. Focus on your game and your team.
I want to talk about training for a little bit. I guess during those training sessions, for the crowd and the kids here, what is the most important thing that you say taking away from training would be? Because I think everybody knows about the games and how the moments are bright, and playing in Seattle at I believe it's Quest Field. Those are the moments that we all like live for, that we train every day for. But what are the key moments to take away from the training that you feel like make it work during the game?
Yeah, I think when you play for so long, you know, it becomes monotonous. You feel like you know, you might just be going to train every day. It's just the same thing every day. I think it's really important to know that each day is important to show up, and you might not be at your best one day. You know, you might have your worst day. You might get injured. You know, something doesn't work your way, but I think it's just important to know, okay, I have the next day to train. I have the next day to be at my best. And it really does reflect on the field. I know there's been times, like at every point in my career, where there was something I was trying to strive for, I was trying to work on. And when I did put that focus into training, whether it was team training, whether it was staying after, coming before, it does reflect in the game, and it does help you in the short term or the long term. So I think it's really important, and especially at the highest level, you can't take days off. You really have to show up every day to train, because the person in front of you, the person next to you is going to want it just as bad, if not more. So I think it's very important that, you know, you don't get locked into a cycle of, okay, I'm going to show up today and, you know, I'm going to train a little bit and see how it goes. As you get to the higher level, you have to make sure that you come prepared, you take care of your body, you know, you're mentally prepared before every training session. You know, if there's a film session before, if there's a film session after, make sure that you're kind of paying attention, you know what's expected of you, and then come to that day excited to train and, you know, take each day as it is.
Are there any specifics on the preparation or building up that excitement that you can kind of share?
Yeah, I think once you, I mean, now it's, some of you are playing in academy or whatever level, you know, you're starting to build those friendships, those teammates. But I think as you get older, you'll start meeting people from all over the place. If you haven't already now, people will be coming from out of state, out of different countries. And so it's always fun to see like people and meet new people, but just being in that same community and being, you know, in that same camaraderie with your teammates, you know, you're all striving for the same goal. You're striving, you know, to make it to the next level or stay at the level you're at. I think like that just gets you excited every day. You know, everybody's serious. They want to compete. They want to, you know, get that next contract. They want to win the championship, whatever it is. But I think, you know, everybody also knows there's a lot of pressure. So, you know, they're very, what's the word for it? It kind of eases your mind a little bit too, because you all know it's a very serious aspect, but you're all there for one reason, and you want to make sure that you're having fun with it too. So I think you know, just remember always enjoying the game, enjoying the trains, enjoying the good moments, the bad moments. I think all of that's important.
Absolutely. And so I want to dive into your career path a little bit. Can you kind of map out, obviously, your time at Penn State, your time at Akron? What were the key things that went on there that helped you kind of see the success that you saw?
Yeah, I think Akron was something I always wanted to play at. I'm from that area originally, and they're one of the biggest college teams. So growing up and going to some of the games and seeing some of the players and seeing the pitch, it was something I always wanted to be out there. So being able to live that was really, really awesome. And that was like probably my first experience of seeing the highest level from what I've been to, of players coming from different states, playing with the national teams, players coming from different countries, you know, just opposed to me just playing, you know, people across the country, and kind of the same kind of style of football where, you know, you're getting players from the national team who have played overseas, you're getting players from, you know, academies in Europe that are coming over for the States. So it really just exposes you to kind of the different cultures and the different levels of players, and the different kind of things that you have to focus on to be able to maintain that level or get to the next level. And Penn State too, same thing. Not as big of a soccer school historically, but same thing. They have, you know, players coming from national team. They have players coming from out of the country. So you always have to kind of adapt and prepare yourself to show up to be the best. And you know, sometimes you're having a good game, good training sessions and things like that, and sometimes it might not be the case, and you might, you know, be on the bench for a few games, or you might get injured. But it just goes back to that, okay, you're there for a reason. You have to always back yourself, have that confidence to know that if you do fall out, you're going to get back into the lineup. If you do get hurt, you're going to get back in the lineup, and then just, you know, take each opportunity you can.
Amazing. And before we let you go, I like to ask all the players, what's one thing that from this discussion, from your being here, that you hope that everybody here can take from you?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, I don't know if it's a lesson as much, but just one of the biggest things I've noticed is just like the community, you know, while you're playing, after you're playing. Like soccer is it's a small world, and a lot of my best friendships, network, relationships, probably if not all, I've come from soccer, the sport, ever since I was young playing, and then to, you know, when I stopped playing. So I think you'll always have the community, you'll always have those relationships, you know, you'll find people, you know, are in the same area as you 10, 15 years later. You'll reconnect with people through different opportunities. So I think it's just, you know, a great community, and you'll always have that network, which is great while you're playing and while you're not.
All right.
Yeah. So thank you for the insights. You know, and this is probably a question for everybody that's here at the panel. You know, at some point there was a decision-making process, point in your career to, hey, you know, do I go pro, do I go college? Mm-hmm. And then in college, at some point, obviously there was a fork in the road and say, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to go pro. And would you just like give us some insight into those?
Yeah, I think for sure, great question. And I think my answer will be different than maybe some other guys, because they might be a little younger than me, because it's definitely ever changing. For me, I think when I was playing, I didn't come up from an academy, so I didn't have the opportunity to sign either homegrown or go MLS next. So my path was always probably going to be try to get to the best college I could, and then after that, try to play professionally. I think nowadays it's just, you know, whatever you think is the best setup for, you know, your family or yourself, the kid. I think, you know, if there's a really good opportunity in front, I know there's really good programs where these teams will offer college education on the side, so they can do remote education, so they can get their degree without having the college experience, and they can play at the MLS next. And I think it just is up to, you know, if they want to go play at a university, I think probably nowadays it's you know, if soccer professionally is what you want to do, it's probably best to try to look to go through the MLS Next Pro and maybe do your college education on the side while you're doing it. But again, it's up to whoever. I think back when I was playing, you could go either way. People were signing homegrown contracts. People were going to college and then getting drafted and, you know, signing first team contracts. Either way is great. But I think probably nowadays with how things are shaping out, if you have that option, you know, it's a good contract. There's a good, you know, pathway for yourself to get into the first team or professionally. I think college is always something you can do. You know, you have plenty of time in the off season and downtime during when you're playing. But then again, like the college experience is I learned a lot from that as well, just being there. So I don't think you can go wrong either way.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. That was very informative. But just want to know what you're doing now.
Yeah, so after I stopped playing, I moved to the city. One of my colleagues from Penn State connected me with a job. It was actually my degree's in HR. So I started doing a recruiting role and then transitioned to that and some sort of like sales consulting. Luckily for me, I'm working remote, so I live actually in like the Jersey City area. I live close by now to the city, so it's nice to be in the city, but I don't have to be. So, you know, using my degree and things are going well there. And then I'm still playing soccer on, you know, for fun. I was actually playing with Dylan and his training sessions that they had during the last couple weeks, which was fun. And then there's some leagues in New York, which I play in with other ex-pros or ex-college players. So still soccer is a huge part of my life, but it's more on the fun side now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. One or two questions from the younger guy.
We're here. We're here and over here.
We got one over there.
If you had a chance to go pro before college, would you have tried or would you have?
That's a good question. If it was back then, if it was now, probably would try to go pro first. If it was back then, I don't know. I feel like I still probably would have tried to maybe go the pathway pro first. I think, yeah, probably I would have tried it homegrown, but it would probably depend on, you know, the setup, the team, the location, and, you know, the opportunity to really make an impact and, you know, see if there was a real opportunity on the first team.
And then we have one here. One more.
What made you feel that soccer was like right for you?
It's a really good question. I think I grew up playing because my dad, he played in college, and so that was the first sport me and my siblings played. And I think I was lucky enough and blessed enough to kind of have like a knack for it. So I already felt like, you know, I was already performing well as a kid and was lucky enough to be blessed with natural talent, I'd say. And then I kind of just, I don't know if it was just naturally, but just kind of fell in love with the sport, and it really just like was something that I always wanted to do. And you know, I enjoyed the feeling of like playing games, winning trophies, and, you know, playing with my friends and teammates. But there's also times where I was like kind of got sick of it, and I was like, oh, I don't want to train today or something like that. But that's kind of like when you're younger and you also have friends, you have school, you have other things going on. So it's some days you might not want to play, but I think like as you get older too, you start to realize like as what do you want to do for your career, and you're like, wow, if I could do one thing for the rest of my life and enjoy it and get paid to do it, it would be soccer, like nothing else. That's kind of why you really stick with it, because this is something you're so passionate about and you really want to try to make a career out of it. So I think that's like when it clicked for me, probably when I was maybe 10 or 11, when I was like, okay, I hear about people going pro. I see people in my community that went to college, they got drafted, and now they're playing in the MLS or they're playing for the national team, something like that. That's where you're like, okay, I want to do this too, and it's something I want to look forward to. Yeah, good question though.
All right. Nikkye is a former U.S. Youth National Team player. Has played with some of the likes of the big players that you guys know now on the men's national team, from Christian Pulisic to Weston Mckennie and some of the rest of the guys that you'll hear from his journey. Nikkye played at Flower City Union And then on to the second one is Shaun Russell. Shaun Russell played for Richmond Kickers, Chattanooga FC, and a couple of other teams as well. So I'm just gonna give them the floor and allow them to speak on their own journeys. All right?
Fellas, Kai and Shaun, thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate you. So, Dylan, explain your guys' background. Thanks for coming out and dropping some knowledge for the people. I think in this session, I want to focus on competition. Obviously, you both played around with some great players. You two yourself are great players. I think I like to kick it off with you, Kai, just kind of talking about being around the U.S. Youth National Team, what it took to get there, and like how you envision the future beyond that, and what the pieces of advice you would give to somebody that's young and might be kind of staring down the same path.
Yeah, man, it took a lot because I didn't come from a very big background of footy. Where I'm from is not a hotbed. I'm from Western New York, Rochester. And I'm from the inner city too, so there was already a lot of disadvantages there. And honestly, my parents, this is for you, my pops really pushed me to go to as many different camps, combines, events as possible to just get exposure. And when I was in those places, I really just tried to emphasize my strengths and really just show that I belonged wherever I went, whether it was me playing up at age group or just going to different events like national training centers, regional training centers, U.S. Scouts in the region. I did ODP back in the day. It was pretty big, so I was on state teams, regional teams, a bunch of different stuff. And honestly, just staying humble, staying confident, realize that this game is a game of opinions. So people are gonna always say something that's probably not what you want to hear, but realize that who cares? You know, you might get 10 good things and then you might get one negative opinion and it will stick with you. So just don't listen to that, you know, block it out, know what you're good at, and just focus on that, definitely.
And I'll jump to you, Shaun, now, talking through like some of the MLS Next Pro and things like that. Similar question, can you just talk about like the level of competition and how you navigated the growth of your career to get to where you ended up, and kind of like the pieces of advice you would give on that journey?
Yeah, I guess for me, like, soccer wasn't big in my family. My dad played basketball, so I was the first to play the sport growing up. So as I got older, like I said, I didn't realize how good I was until, you know, I started playing academy and ODP and going to state tournaments and realizing that my potential was higher than what I was expected to play. You know, I was always one of the underdogs. I was always the smallest, so I had a different edge to me. I had a bite to me. I had a different hunger. So my hunger was my drive. So as the competition got better, you know, just my confidence. You have to realize, like, you have to have confidence in this game. It's not just about skill. You have to have confidence. You have to know that anytime you step on the field, that you're the best player, no matter who's on the field, no matter who's being talked about. You know, it could be a national team player like Kai, but you know, to me, those players were just the same as me. You know, they tied the shoes the same way I did. They put on the shorts the same way I did. So it was about, you know, your hunger and your drive and your competitive spirit on wanting to be the best and wanting to, you know, to compete at the highest level.
Absolutely, and I love that response. And I think you both touched on something that I want to dive into a little bit more. Neither of you have like the backgrounds nationally. You noted that you're from the inner city, Westchester. You noted that your dad played basketball. I would say, how did both of you kind of grow your career naturally, and what was the big touching points for you as your career grew to do this professional soccer thing? Because a lot of these kids, it might be a similar situation, right? It might be the opportunities aren't always there. There aren't always the you know, they're lucky to have the training sessions and things like that. But, you know, when you have to grow your career kind of a homegrown way, you have to do it yourself. That's a big part of people's career. So can you just want to, you know, we'll go here and here, talk through just the growth of careers when it's not as natural?
Man, it's gonna be definitely hard sometimes. You might get down on yourself, but one thing that I always relied on was knowing my strengths, and then I would try to perfect my strengths so that anytime I got an opportunity to be in front of a new team or a new coach, you know, impress scouts, all these different things. When I first went to the national team, oh my goodness, I'm like, yo, I'm from Western New York playing with guys from these hotbeds, and most of them knew each other, and I didn't really know nobody. And so one thing my pops and my coaches would always tell me is just perfect your strengths so that when you get a chance to emphasize them, you really like spam them and show them to the best of your ability. You know, work on your weaknesses when you can, when you're with Ultrafooty, when you're with, you know, in your individual time, you know, your training sessions with your clubs, but really emphasize your strengths. I would definitely say that. Know them and then show them.
Absolutely. Shaun?
I guess for me, my experience is, like I said, I went to a very small school, Division I school, so, you know, it's trying to get to the pro level from where I played at St. Francis. You know, it's not, you play against the Clemsons, the UVAs, who are always on the scout boards and things like that. So for me, it was, again, a different drive to, you know, say I can compete against those players. So my journey was different, just trying to reach out to coaches as much as possible, just trying to get my foot in the door, and that's all this game is. It's just trying to get the right eyes on you. And like the piggyback off what Kai said, this game is full of opinions. Everyone's gonna have an opinion of you. It's how you take those opinions and how you know, push forward and how you take it. You know, the criticism. Can you take the criticism? Because this game isn't easy. You have to have the mental capacity to deal with the negative and hearing someone saying you're not good enough. So how do you push forward and how do you get over that hump to, you know, make it through this game at the end of the day?
Yeah, that's a great segue into what I wanted to ask you next. You know, and like I said, the session's a little bit about competition. Can you both tell us a story about a time where maybe a competitive side of you took over, and just how did that end? You know, could it be in practice, a game? What's the most kind of like locked in, I guess, you've been? And you know, take us through that time.
For me, I'm a center back, so I thrived like knowing who the best player was on the team, like the best forward, and like locking them up, so I like to say. And so anytime I knew somebody came in with a bunch of goals or a bunch of clout, I really just thrived off of stopping them from doing what they do best, which is to like do the, you know, the sexy stuff, which is scoring goals and all that stuff. And so I really just, it's kind of like at the end of the day, you're competing against yourself. And so I had a lot of pride in my defending. Yeah, I'm going against them, but I really wanted to prove to myself that I can keep up with these best forwards, best players in the country, and, you know, wherever. And so definitely that.
Same way, like I said, I played left back, so that was like my defending. You know, loved it, and they don't get a lot of credit because they do things that don't show up on the stats, like getting the scoring goals and the things like that. You know, so like my stats is a big crunching tackle, so like that's always been my motivation. So I guess my biggest moment for me was like, you know, one of the biggest, you know, strikers or that I played against. It was a big name, and you know, hit me square in the nose, bloody nose. Everyone's like, you know, you need to go off the field. I was like, nah, I'm gonna get my get back. You know, I was trying to stay on the field. Everyone's like, so like for me, like that was like my drive. Is like, we're gonna finish this game no matter what. No one's gonna get me off the field because this is what I love to do. I love going against the best of the best.
I mean, that's awesome. And I think coming up through, you know, all of the levels of soccer, where would you say is the most, I don't want to say important, but where would you say for you, both of you in particular, were the biggest spots that the folks in the crowd need to focus on as they go up through their careers?
In terms of like skill?
Skill and just, you know, high school, is it college, is it when you know, get to the pros, is it in those training levels? What would you say you kind of work on your game the most and where you become the most complete player yourself?
Honestly, for me, it was my individual training, definitely. You can only get so much out of team training because it's not really as focused on you. And so definitely, I remember one time I couldn't juggle for nothing. And I was like U14, couldn't juggle. And my coach gave me like this just a task to try to get 100, 50 at first, then 100. And so I was just in my room trying to juggle, barefoot, going outside, trying to juggle, and eventually I could do like 200, 300 within like a month, not even. And so that's just one little aspect, but individual training is huge. You gotta definitely focus on that because that separates like the best players. Like, yeah, they might be able to do the most crazy stuff, but you better believe in their alone time, they are putting in that work. So definitely individual training.
Yeah, I guess the same thing for me. doing individual stuff for me wasn't the norm for me. You know, it was basketball, so soccer was just like a second thing for me. I just knew I was good at it. And it wasn't until probably going into my sophomore year of college knowing that, all right, I have to really step it up a next level. So again, I started juggling the whole summer. I'm on campus, summer school, going to classes. I have access to a field facility. So I spent the whole summer for 4 months just juggling the soccer ball, just again, nothing else. Going to the field, going to class, juggling the soccer ball. And then you can see a difference in just your touch. And again, like it's not talked about, you know. People think it's just very boring. I thought it was boring, but juggling is really, you know, the base for your touch. Like, it's just getting comfortable, right, left, right, left, right, left. And, you know, so I think, you know, honing in on, you know, just the basic skills, not worrying about, you know, how many tricks and skills you can do, how many goals you can score. It's just getting down to the nitty-gritty, detailed, you know, one touch, two touch, right foot, left foot, and things like that.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good point. You're a basketball guy as well. So you know this. Kyrie Irving said all the best basketball players started under the hoop. Right? George Mikan doing the Mikan drill. And it's kind of the same idea. So you're both defenders. If there's defenders in the crowd, what's the one basic skill you would say that they need to just lock in on the most? I know you both mentioned juggling, but just the defenders to defenders, like what's the tip? What's the secret?
For me, it's not going to be a defending thing, but it's going to be a skill. So get your weak foot down, 100%, because it just adds to your versatility. I was able to play right back, left back, you know, right center back, left center back, and I'm right-footed, but my left foot, I like to say I'm pretty ambidextrous, and so putting in the work on your weak foot is huge because it just opens the door for so many more opportunities to play. The best thing is availability and being versatile, and so definitely work on that weak foot, 100%.
I'll say you're passing as a defender. I think that's the biggest thing. If you can be able to face up, get the ball, connect 70% of your passes consistently, you know, at the highest level, because that's the difference between different levels, between college, pro, MLS. It's the consistency. How consistent can you be at doing your job at the best, at the highest level? So I'd say passing as a defender would be the key for me.
Absolutely. One more question before I turn it over to the crowd for some more questions. I asked Riley the same question. What is one thing that you want everybody to leave with here tonight?
Man, one thing that stuck with me was to not put my full identity in the game. At the end of the day, love it, you know, be so passionate about it that you fall in love with it, that you want to do as much as you can to get better. But at the end of the day, I mean, we can talk about it. We don't play anymore. You know, our career only lasts so long. So don't take it for granted, but do not put your full identity in it. Find other things you're passionate about, and because a lot of times guys might have a career however long, and then once the game is done, they just lose themselves. They don't know what to do. And you know, it's going to be a process at first, but definitely the guys who have put their full identity in this game, they struggle the most. So 100%, don't just label yourself as, so I like to say, I'm not the soccer player Nikkye, I'm Nikkye, the dude that loves to play football, that loves to play video games, that loves to go hiking, that loves to do X, Y, Z. And I don't just pigeonhole myself into being just a soccer player. So that would be probably the biggest advice for me.
Absolutely.
I say for me, it's no matter who it is, family, friends, whatever, if you want to play this game at the highest level, the pro level, college, whatever, you can't listen to the no's and whatever, because if you want this dream, you have to go after your dream, honestly. So your parents could say, you know, it's not going to make you this, or it's not going to do this for you. If you want to do this, if you have the passion and drive to do this, go for it. No matter what people say, no matter who says it, because this is your dream, this is what you want to do. And you have to have the confidence to go after it, no matter who says no to you at the end of the day.
Well said. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Questions from the
Questions from the
crowd?
crowd? Two parents, two kids?
Two parents, two kids. You're giving it out to the kid that gave you the best question.
We got one already in the back. Not a kid, not a parent. Go for it.
So
I think it was Kai, you mentioned that your parents were bringing you to combines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question for you, right, is you did direct it towards the parents and basically encouraging them to put their kids in those camps, put their kids in those combines, right? But at the same time is you can bring a horse to the water, you can't make it drink, right? So for the kids that are listening right now, I don't know if you experienced it, but when you were going there, they could drop you off. That doesn't mean that you had the mentality of, I'm gonna get my money's worth here, right? Do you feel like you had a switch when you were just like, okay, I'm going to these things, I'm not just going to the motions anymore? Or did you find like you had always had a competitive nature, or that you felt like one day you were like, okay, I need to start working harder?
That's a great question. Honestly, for me, coming up in a family that didn't have a lot of money, I felt it a little bit differently, knowing some of the loops that we had to go through. Sometimes my parents had to get, like, people would offer to help pay for me to go places because they just believed in my talent so much. So that really stuck with me, the fact that other people, not even in my family, would like put that trust to give their money for me to go perform. And so I looked at that, and honestly, my dad really kept me grounded, just made me realize it's a blessing to be here, period. So don't take it for granted, because he would just say you don't know when the last time is you're going to be able to play or if you're going to get another chance to impress. And so that was the switch for me. As soon as I showed up, and already being from a place that was already underlooked, it made me want to just prove them wrong. And I looked kind of nerdy when I was younger. I had sports goggles and an afro. So that alone too, I already knew people were going to write me off of that. And so it really just made me want to prove myself more.
You went to national team games, did you ever show confidence?
Yeah, 100%. So I come from playing on a bunch of turf, like bad turf. My first camp in California at the Galaxy Center, at their stadium. It's like nice grass, nice fully wet grass. My touch was trash. My very first touch on the ball, I was already kind of nervous, and the ball's like skipping off the grass like crazy, and my touch went like 5 feet in front of me. I was like, damn. And then I was getting pressed, like they were pressuring me. It was a possession game. I was like, wow, this is how it's coming. And it took a couple times, like maybe my next 2 passes I received to really get like the hang of it. But man, bro, I was nervous after that first touch. I'm like, dang, they think I suck. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. One here?
If you were 8 years old, again, what would you tell yourself?
8 years old. Wow, I gotta making me feel a little old there. 8 years old. Honestly, I would tell myself, when you get older, there's gonna be a lot of distractions. So try as best as you can to not fall into the temptation of those distractions. 100%. 100%.
Have confidence. So that was my struggle, just having confidence early and not till I got older. So just have confidence in yourself.
That's a good question.
Let me reframe that. How can you push her to have confidence if it's not instilled within?
Just give her that reassurance that that you're capable of doing anything you want to do. No matter how hard it is. Again, for me as a trainer as well, like I push my kids to be the best. So it's going to get hard. So for me, it's just like giving you that reassurance, like you can do this. We've done this before, so you're already good enough to do this. So just continue to give yourself, that reassurance, like I can do this. I know I'm good. I know I'm good. I know I'm good.
Great. Amazing. What now question?
So what do you do now?
What now?
I work in accounting. So I work in, I deal with a lot of entities. So I just deal with numbers and money and things like that. But also, again, I'm a personal trainer as well. So like I said, with Ultrafooty, who's helped me started what I like to do as well. So like I said, I do that right after I get off to my 9 to 5.
So, for me, I'm hustling right now a little bit. I work for Nike on their social media department. I'm doing that, trying to just break away into the sports media world. And then I do like some security work on the side too. And I just started my coaching license. So I'm trying to get into the coaching world as well. So